that concludes the infrastructure and development portion here. I do see some members from our housing and community development team, so we'll bring you all up and transition to you all if you're ready. Here.
I got some gray beard coming up. I don't know about gray hair. Mike's got the gray hair.
Yes. And if this
Morning,
is
council.
good morning.
Yeah.
If this is your first time speaking, just ask that you just state your name and title for the record, and then I'm going to pass the torch off to you.
Boda, Director of Housing and Community Development.
Right.
And so we're using the analysis report, I guess, to start.
I don't know where my little sheet is.
Your fund number.
25200.
Okay.
200.
Thank you.
Here's my question. No. Thank you.
Well, maybe I can answer it first. Maybe I can get that lucky. So probably in our budget, you'll see a few some minor differences. One of the things that we were doing was consolidating some of our smaller accounts that we use for a variety of things. Like you'll see something that says summon servers, graffiti removal, boarding a house, rubbish removal. Well, we're moving all of that into one line item, which currently says weed cutting, but we've discussed.
Yes.
So it because some of it we sometimes use it, we don't use summon servers anymore. We have a new process for that. So a lot of that we're consolidating that into one account to simplify things. You'll notice that some different numbers on the computer software. So last year or this year actually, we went ahead and converted everything from multiple systems into one system. So if you went to go register as a landlord, you had to fill a form out, then it would come in. We would manually input it into two systems. And so now we've consolidated all of that. So all of our code enforcement, all of our landlord licensing, we are also using it for our case management for homeless services for Ann Street Village and our Housing First program. So we're able to use the platform is very flexible, and it allows us to use it for a variety of purposes. And then all the payments and everything come through that. And so when it goes to finance, they get a report once a month and they enter in how much was basically received, and they don't have to go through and do line by line like they used to. So, and then a large portion of the transactions are online. So they're not having to come into finance, they're not having to call in. They can just pay online in their own account. In OpenGov. Sorry, part Italian, so my hands are fluttering.
Sure.
So that's been a big part of what we've been working on this year, is streamlining all those services into one. ABCD is on board. Their hotel registrations, their the mobile vendor license, and the what's the other one? The fortune teller license are all in OpenGov now as well. In case you're trying to get
Which are, by the way, $1,000. That's amazing.
Yeah. So that I think last year we reduced that from $1,000 to $100. I think
Yeah.
that was
Oh, is that
better.
what it was?
Yeah, it's $100.
I was surprised to see that.
Yeah.
It was actually several different versions, and each one there was 3 different kinds that you had to go through, and each one was $1,000.
Yeah. And imagine when those were established, which was back in the 50s or 60s, $1,000. I mean, inflation, back then that was probably like $10,000, to try to get a license like that. So, but anyway, so we moved, they're all in there. I know you all briefly talked about some of the committees as we were coming in, but we have one committee, which is the WIDAC committee, and there was funding in there for years for WIDAC, but it was never used. And then most of everything that we do with WIDAC, again, we provide the meeting space. It's generally at one of the community centers. So there's not, and then anything that they would need, we just use it out of our regular operating budget for the community centers.
Why are they on here? Is there?
They're probably not on there because
No,
we don't,
okay.
we didn't,
The youth council, so youth count.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Hold on, was it on there?
Yeah, I see.
Yeah.
I got you. Okay.
We just don't fund it anymore. We
Yeah.
haven't funded it in a couple of years now. It's rolled in, I guess, in year so.
Got you.
So, and then that's, we always have challenges. Anytime we have any additional funds that come, we either put them into vehicle maintenance or we put them into buildings. This year we've seen there's been a lot of things that, once the warranty expires, sometimes so does the equipment. Newton, we replaced the HVAC system. There's mini splits. We replaced both of them this year. We did some a roof repair on Truett, and we've had some and at Ann Street. We've had the bathhouse is very challenging. It's because of it's a trailer, like a motorhome. And anytime there's an issue with any of the plumbing, especially with the toilets, if there's any type of clog, that is like a $1,000 to $1,600 call for service. So and they're very, when you use them, you have to push your foot down for it to work. So if you don't hold it long enough and there's, toilet paper or whatever in there, it can get clogged up down in those little, in those things. And so that's been very challenging. We've had with that and then a few other property maintenance issues. I know this year we've asked for $20,000 for Ann Street. Last year we were allotted 12, which did not pay for the electricity. And that was us not being fully staffed. So 20 is the absolute minimum. I mean, if you want to throw some more, we won't say no. But for us to fill it up with 22 residents, I believe we're at 14 now, 2 just left. But we're working on filling those. So there's always a couple units in flux. There's people finding housing, there's people leaving or being dismissed. But during the winter, our bill can be $1,500 to $2,000 a month. Especially if those heaters are not very, very energy efficient. But that's that as far as, and then the Housing First program, we've requested.
It's 95. It's funded in different ways, but yep.
We are working with that program. Christine's working with the health department and some of their caseworkers to bring everybody up to. They're supposed to be responsible for 30% of their rent based on their income, and so we're working on getting everybody up to that by the end of the year appropriately, and then we're also making sure that it's who's living in the places are the ones that are supposed to be living in there, because it's for that person, not a friend or whoever else is living there. So we've had some challenges with that in the past, and so we just have to keep monitoring that. So
Where's that account, Mr. Cottrell?
that is 10,530, but it doesn't
It's 599. Like they're the grant matches, or we kind of call them grant matches because they're like they go out of the general fund. They were in the presentation yesterday on the financial health. The 20,000 for Ann Street and the 95,000 for the community development.
So
91001.
that's not on here though. And so while Ms. Green is finding that, so you all with the Housing First, what exactly are those funds used for?
I think in like 2016 or 17, the program was started where
This account. Operating transfers. 1001.
What is it? I'm sorry.
910.
1001.
There it is.
20,000 for Ann Street, and then the 95,000.
Okay. Gotcha.
Sorry, Mr. Boda.
so this program is this has about 11 individuals in the program. They were part of the Housing First model that the city operated under, and so part of the agreement when they came into the program, the city would be responsible for a portion of their rent, and then the city would pay the balance to the landlord.
So this isn't for any new,
No, we have not added anybody into the program. Just 95,000 will.
The funding hasn't changed either from last year to this year.
so, okay, I want to slow this down.
They're not in his account because they're tracked differently.
I got you.
They're not in the
It's a
general fund, they're in a community.
It's a revolving account, so whatever's left over it's in 10-530 is set up as a grant account. So that was how everything, when we were doing outreach and we had all the different grants to pay for people, which none of those grants are available now.
Sure.
So both of our employees, Christine and Daniel, are on our regular HCDD budget. So this part this side is for the operation of Ann Street and for the Housing First program.
But we are not out of his budget, but out of the operating transfers, we're 95,000.
Fund has to fund it.
We'll be funding this, and so,
So we do
90
it as a transfer from the general fund.
right, 95,000 into the, how many more, what's the tenure of these funds for these individuals?
In like, how long are they going to be in the program?
Well-
Or,
Okay, so it's not new individuals. These are the individuals that were started with the program in 2016, you said?
over the course of the time when they were doing it, so
Okay.
but we
So-
haven't put anybody in for 2 years.
Okay, so when is that time proposed to end?
So it's permanent supportive housing.
yeah.
That's how the program was started.
That's all perfect. I know. Yep. Well, actually, can you? Yeah.
Come on up.
I know what that is, but if you can, can you explain what that? Yes.
Yeah, so back, the whole homeless program with the city.
You can just say your name and the title for the
Oh,
record.
sorry, Christine Chestnut, and I'm the Housing and Homelessness Manager.
Good morning.
Good morning. So back in 2016, the Theo Williams started the housing program, looking at trying to figure out a solution for homelessness. And at that time, the HUD model was permanent supportive housing. That is what HUD was doing, which was putting people in permanent housing through scattered site locations, different landlords, them paying 30% of their income in rent and the city paying the remainder. That is a permanent supportive housing model. Now, since then, HUD has kind of shifted to a housing first model that is different, that is rapid rehousing funding and no longer permanent supportive housing. They don't fund that anymore. HUD doesn't provide any funding for that. So there still are a couple permanent supportive housing models. Here, Salisbury has one, Somerset County has one, where we're not allowed to use HUD dollars for that, but it's the people who are put in housing. So the folks that are in our housing program have been there since, almost all of them have been since the beginning. They've been there for about 9 years, and they don't have another option. Their income is $967. There is nowhere else they can live for that. But we're not putting anyone new into that program because of, as you all know, subsidized housing is very expensive and it costs a lot of money to maintain that going forward. So we're getting everyone up to, throughout the years that people have fallen through the cracks where they're not paying the full 30% of their income, and we're getting them all up to that effective July 1. And then going forward, the ones that we can move into, like senior citizen housing, we plan to try to get them on those wait lists for that, so that they can have a permanent subsidy that the city's not funding.
Sure.
But for now, that's where we are. But we're not putting anyone new in, and it is intended to be permanent. I mean, it's...
I mean, that was insightful. I didn't know that it was. I knew that we were doing that, but I don't think it's communicated, at least to me or to the public, that we were doing, which is it's a good effort. But I think we should. This is insightful. So, how many individuals do we currently have in this model that 95,000 is supporting?
11.
Okay,
11 households.
thank you.
Christine, how many would you, like, even in this next, like, say, fiscal year, you think you would be able to transfer off of that list? Like any seniors or that go in nursing homes,
So
or-
I would love to find all of them a place to be. The problem is right now that any of the affordable housing, senior citizen housing, all has a minimum of a 3-year wait list. I have contacted every agency or every Gateway Village, Lodges at Naylor Mill,
Yeah.
all of them, and they all have at least a 3-year wait list currently, barring any, because what's happening now, of course, is because affordable housing is almost non-existent, you have to wait for someone to pass away to get the spot. So that's as far as senior citizens go. So that's the unfortunate part. We do have many of them would qualify for that 55 and older. It's just finding a place for them to be. So barring anyone passing away, I don't know that I'll have a solution in this fiscal year to move anyone out, but we're trying to get them connected. At least if we can get them on wait list, at least it's a wait list. It's better
Yes,
than nothing.
yes.
The
Thank
reason
you.
for my question is I was getting there the long way, but because we get, at least I know myself and I know from fellow council members, we get the, hey, this person's displaced, what can the city do? And it's so and so I know that we're doing, and this is 11 households at almost $100,000. It's a chunk, but what I'm wondering is this is the time where we get to train or adjust the budget, because again, people are looking to us to be able to help in some way, and if you all don't have the of course manpower but the funds to do it, if we need to reorganize or make sure that you all have a line item, because we get the calls and the emails and we don't know where to turn. So we have a homeless we have a homeless case manager, we have a homeless manager here, and so I'm like, hey, what do you, and you're like, well, I don't have the funds to do it, or I don't have this. So this is the time where I think we should have that dialogue to say, okay, yeah, we're helping 11 households already, but what can we do to help an additional 5 or
The
what
challenge is right now that even if we had funding, finding that housing, housing to put people in is the challenge.
I'm not even talking about permanent housing. This is this person. I mean, it's the every story. It's the day. It's the hours. It's those that I get the call of. I have to step away and it's someone. It's a dire need. They're cold. They're all those things.
Yeah.
We
They come in the office every day. We have them every
Yeah,
day.
I mean, we get it too, and some of there's challenges. Is we're the same thing with the residents at Ann Street, we've got people there that are ready for housing, but they're on wait list.
Yeah.
So there's that's a challenge, and then sometimes when you're working with people, and we have residents that are in that situation where they've got maybe some liens against them for prior housing where they've had judgments, that automatically is an obstacle for them to get housing, because a lot of landlords, if they check their record, they're not going to put them in. So there's a couple layers to it, and when we get it, we try to find them a place or recommend them to try some places, but there's a lot of challenges. You can have the money, but
Are you speaking about a temporary fix, or? I know,
Yes.
just like they said, it is hard to get in places. Now, I do know that the Mitchell Landing has plenty of openings now. Have you gone to the Housing Authority to see about placing some of them?
We've never had luck with the Housing Authority. They're supposed to give preference to the homeless, but we have not had that success ever. That's never been.
And Riverside Drive too.
They have a wait list.
Yeah, I'm quite sure they do.
Yeah.
But if we could put them on that waiting list,
Yeah.
because a lot of people do not keep updated with the list. So, I mean, that would be a faster way for them to get in. But a temporary fix is good, but a permanent fix is better. And if you put somebody in a hotel for 1 or 2 nights, then 2 nights, a night, the next night, the second night, the third night, they're back out in the street. That's not a help. I mean, it is and it's not, because, hey, I'm right back where I started from. So that's the depression stage for a person who's been in a hotel for 2 days and then has to go back out where they came from, the elements from where they came from. So, I'm thinking, and have you ever tried Lakeview?
Yes, I don't want to go over, but if you could reach out to me, I have a connect with the Housing Authority. I want to make sure that that piece is not being forgotten there. But I wanted just to spend a couple seconds to say, is there, because again, you all get it, we get the calls and that we get it. So is there anything that we should be doing more?
The challenge is that homelessness, since really COVID, has probably tripled in Wycomico County. And the resources have significantly decreased. So shelters, most shelters have not ever been at full capacity since COVID. When they closed their doors and weren't accepting new people because of the COVID crisis, most of them have never fully opened since then. There's been lots of conversations about that, lots of, communication, but they're still not most of them not fully staffed. Also, because of not fully staffed, fully filled. The other challenge has been that because we only have 2 shelters here in Wycomico, aside from the cold weather shelter, if you've been kicked out of those shelters, you can't go back. So there's all these challenges and every single day we're getting many, many phone calls. I'm on the streets, I have nowhere to go. And that is across the board. That is all 3 counties is experiencing that same crisis. And so we are all trying to get together and figure out what some solutions are. But the way that the funding is being cut from the federal government level is concerning, because we already have a crisis and then you cut additional funding. I don't mean local, I'm talking about federal level. Funding gets cut and then what happens? So we're all trying to meet and figure out what we do, and we've been doing that. They can throw as much money as they want at it, being the federal government, even if they weren't cutting it, but the challenge is there isn't housing to put people in. So without that,
I get it.
Used to be I could walk into the woods and get somebody on a wait list and they could be housed within 3 months. And that is no longer. I mean, now it's at least a 3-year wait list.
Any of the other, Christine, thank you. Welcome back and thank you for all you're doing. I'm sure you and Muir have looked at this, but is there any possibility, I know in Georgetown, they have had their ups and downs with a particular homeless issue, housing there. In some of the other, not necessarily our Eastern Shore, other areas that have had some kind of success. I mean, we hope for that with Ann Street, but a different model that has worked, maybe not even in our immediate area, even in another state, as long as it's apples to apples.
Yeah, I think one of the challenges, especially with Ann Street, we've got 2 big challenges there. First of it, there's no available funds from like HUD or the state that identify this transitional housing unit. The other piece with Ann Street, even if we were able to use some CDBG funds, but we cannot because of the Brownsfield site that's at the next lot over. So we can't use CDBG funds within a certain radius of any of those types of sites. So same thing with like Salcap, you couldn't use CDBG funds until that's been completely remediated. So it has to go through, approved by the EPA to be completely remediated. So that puts some restrictions on that location for us there. And I think is, the other piece, a lot of these places like Ann Street are not necessarily run by municipalities, they're run by private foundations. And the one in Georgetown, their struggle, and when I've met with the director there, they were great at getting money raised for capital expenditures to do it. But then it is to get the continued sustainable support to run it on a monthly basis. So that's the biggest challenge that I see that a lot of them have. But we'll keep looking to see what some other models are.
I mean, it's a great, if anybody had a solution, we'd all be in great, everywhere nationwide, we'd be in good shape.
Appreciate that. Yeah, I don't want to veer away too far from the actual budget. Sure. And I know we can talk about this for hours upon hours. I want to go get back to the budget, but I know you have a quick.
Yeah. First of all, Christine, welcome back. I'm so happy to see you back.
Thank you.
I'm just excited. Mira, you know where I'm going to go with this.
Oh boy.
Love you, buddy. So the bathroom. You mentioned how difficult it is to fix. This, I feel like this is something that's going to nickel and dime us until we get it replaced. Yeah. What do you guys see as the possibility of getting it fixed so it is accessible? Because a lot of the unhoused population that we serve are going to have some form of disability, and that has been my complaint from the jump with that particular facility, is that it is not accessible in any way, shape, or form. So, number one, would it make more sense, rather than dumping a little bit of money constantly into it, to have it repaired? What would it take to get that facility accessible and fixed so we don't have those problems going into the future?
That particular facility that we have on site, there's nothing we can do to make that accessible. Number one, even if we did a ramp, there's no room to do a ramp correctly. Number two, the inside of the bathrooms themselves, there's not a lot of space. So that's the other challenge with it. The only way to fix that situation is to replace that.
Okay. So what would it take? I mean, that's my question, is what would it take to replace it? Because I know there's not much we can do with as it stands right now, make it accessible or, but.
Mike Zimmerman and I looked at a couple of things last year and we batted around. So we're probably looking in the range of $350,000 to $400,000 if we replaced that. So then what we would do is while we would be building the new facility, we would have to take down a couple of the units to build it, and then where the existing one is, just put those units back there. But it would need to make it fully accessible, it would need to be replaced.
Yeah, I know. I've known that from the jump, and I protested against it when we first got it, and I think that.
And Pallet themselves, and we've talked with them a little bit last year. They've got something that is accessible as far as like a bathroom and stuff. So,
okay.
I mean, it's something we could go down and even look at, maybe a couple of units. They have units too that are a little bit bigger. So if you have someone with a wheelchair or something, but certainly the bathroom itself would need to be replaced.
Yeah. Okay.
I just have, I think, one or two questions. What's the Chipman line item 569202?
So when they did a reorganization, when they created HCDD, all those local, you've got neighborhood housing services that we give $30,000 to every year. We've historically have given money to the Chipman Community Center every year. So all of that used to be under the mayor's thing, but then they put that under HCDD when we did our change a few years ago. So there's the Lower Shore Heritage Council, which gets $1,500. The Community Garden gets $1,500, and then the Coat Team gets $25,000.
What's the Coat Team? What is that?
That is the
outreach addictions.
It's the team that when there's someone who overdoses or there's a co-responder.
Okay.
So we support that too.
It's right here.
That was my only question there. Council, any other questions or comments that you all had in particular before you move over? Anything else with the budget? Anything on the CIP? The community, is it the community, or was that later on, the community center? Let's talk about that. Is that under HCDD
we
were going to bring him back when we talked about community center. We talked about a little bit about it right now. It's up to you.
Later on, or?
It is up to you if you want to drill down on that right now. We can also talk about the capital stuff. There's a more detailed conversation if we want to talk about. I was going to have it for general discussions later on.
That's later. I didn't know if it followed under the HCDD. We'll talk about it later on.
It does. We told him to come back this afternoon.
Oh, okay.
I wanted to make sure that also on that discussion at the end, I would like to discuss the real possibility of replacing the bathrooms. Please. I'd like to put that on our discussion list, please.
Yep.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Anything you all, so the events, those are all the community, the pop-ups, everything's good with that, and Newton and everything?
Good.
Okay.
Have anything to add unless you have specific questions, I'd be happy to come up.
Yeah, no, I
love your newsletter.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you so much. It's really great.
Yeah.
I love to see it.
I love it. And believe me, people read it. A lot of good stuff in it. Thank you so much. Oh, I know it.
Yes.
I do. I love it.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Well, thank you all. Thank your team. We appreciate you all. Thank you guys. Yes.
We'll have to talk about Wheel of Time later.
All right, that concludes
Thank you, Mr.
the
Bowden.
housing and community development